And hello, world. Welcome to IBM.TV, where we are bringing you world news coverage about the COVID-19 virus and crisis, as we call it. But we're here to bring you facts, not fear. We're bringing you discussions from our panel and our board of advisors from all over the globe so they can share with you what's really going on in their part of the world. Because it was great when we were having our meetings and we could hear and ahead of time what happened in Australia or what was going on in China or Africa. And we could kind of say, you know what, we needed to bring this news to the world. So with us today, we have our one of our panelists and board members, Ankit. Good morning, Ankit. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Namaste. How are you?
Namaste. And this is something that we're teaching people that we need to get back to, not handshaking, not hugging, but let's give everyone a blessing for a brighter future when we bow and say hello to them, right? So many blessings for a brighter future. So, and Ankit, we've got a very special guest. You and I had him on our show Saturday, I think it was, John. He's going to share with us what's going on in his part of the world and some of the things that we need to be doing strategically, not just health-wise, but business-wise, at home-wise, and why we need to stop panicking, because John is part of our leadership in our country. And so we're going to bring him on here as well. Wait, let's get Willie introduced. Good morning, Willie. How are you doing? All the way from Australia.
Good morning. Good morning.
Namaste. Many blessings for a brighter future. All right. So we have John Harmon with us. I'm going to bring him on board. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good morning, John.
Well,
that's right. Many blessings for a brighter future, right?
we need it.
Yeah. Well, good evening. Yeah, Willie, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning there, right?
Yes, it is.
And so I thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us what's going on in your part of the world, because we've learned so much by learning by you a week or two ahead of time. And one of the things that I love that Australia did to really encourage their people to stay home is they fine them if they're violating the lockdown policy.
Wow.
And it's not a small fine. It hurts. It's a bite. It's $1,500, right, Willie?
Yes, it is.
So, and these are things that we can learn from other countries to understand how, and they're taking control of the situation, and it's not spreading as bad. We also have our CEO and founder, one of our founders, Nick Palaveda. Nick, please tell me you're not driving.
I am. I'm going to be on the road today. Sorry.
That's all right. Good morning.
Location, as you can see.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you're in a safe location. As everyone, life still has to go on, but there are special measures that we should be taking when we have to get out and do things, go to the doctor's office for our monthly treatments. Life still has to go on. And these are some of the things that we need to share and talk about. John, for all of us who already know him, John Harmon is from New Jersey. He is the CEO and founder of the African American Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey. It's a very, very important position to help build the economy for the African Americans and to help establish people to be able to have greater, better businesses, because that's what the Chamber of Commerce is all about, is integrating the businesses with the community. And one of the things we want to talk about before we get started, I would like for Ankit to kind of share just the global statistics right now, not for each state or country, but let's just kind of bring the world up to date where we are as a world. Can you do that?
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, just a moment.
Okay. And some of the things that we were talking about yesterday, we had a really great subject matter expert on disease control, and that was Dr. Sagu in India, and he taught us the proper way to wash our hands. So we're going to try to cut that clip out and share it with the world. But I had no idea this whole time. I've been washing my hands. I wash them for a long time. but there's a proper way to wash where you put your fingers together and get in the crevices. And the last thing you should do is your thumbs. And this is how doctors are taught to wash their hands, right? To get in the crevices and each crevice. And he showed us in great detail. Some other things is, you know, I learned last night, you spray your counters down if you've got somebody infected in your house and we're having to self-treat, but don't wipe the counter. You spray it, but do not wipe it. Let it air dry. And they say that this is safer. You're not picking up contaminants in your towels and cloths, and air drying kills the germs better than wiping. I didn't know that. So if you're going to sanitize your counters, but you want them clean, you clean them and then you sanitize them. So, so these are little things that as a globe we're sharing, and we need to continue because communication, information, and transparency is how we're going to win. So, Ankit, you got the there it is. Okay, people, this is what we're dealing with.
So this is what we have today's numbers, around 10,447 deaths so far across the globe. And the recoveries are also growing, but the cases are growing now. And a couple of countries are in stage 3. In India, we are at stage 2. So is Australia. So that is what the number is. If we go to the cases, the last day the cases was 218,822, and today we have 244. Same goes with the death rates, 8,951 to 10,000 something.
And some of the things is that we still don't know how to deal with what we're dealing with. This is still a ghost in the science world. We later going to have a guest that is a scientist from the world in the labs of HIV many years ago. They were dealing with the same thing. It was a very unknown, very scary factor. But John, good morning. Let's talk to you a little bit, because you've made the special effort to come see us and share with us what is happening in your part of the world, and what are we doing as a community and leaders?
Well, thank you so much for affording me an opportunity to be a part of the conversation today. You know, at 11 o'clock today, Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have a briefing with Governor Murphy. And what's encouraging in New Jersey, given this bad time, is that the dissemination of information amongst the business community and the community at large. There's information being shared from health agencies, state government, from healthcare providers, as well as the corporate sector on things to do. We've had regular conversations with our state and federal legislators. I was on with Senator Cory Booker's office yesterday, and they were asking very specifically, what are some of the things that we could do to help small businesses? And so we had a rather lengthy conversation because there are a lot of things. I mean, ranging from, you know, the SBA has just rolled out a loan program. And what was interesting is it starts at $25,000 of unsecured lending, but we thought that that number should be raised. In addition, we thought that any interest payments should be deferred at a minimum of 6 months, and principal and interest at 12 to 18 months. We thought that made more sense. In addition, the SBA wants to encumber your collateral to secure the loan. And you'll find that many businesses, particularly small businesses at this juncture, don't have much available assets that are not encumbered. So we need to be a little creative as it relates to that. And then, you know, just folks getting paid for work that they performed already, or work that is being performed. We're very concerned about small businesses having good receivables to get paid in a timely manner. And so as a result of this disruption, if you will, it's going to impact the employees. So I've heard from a few small businesses that have laid folks off, and now they're reaching out to unemployment at the state level to get some type of unemployment coverage. So it's a very challenging time, not only in New Jersey, but across America. But I think the daily updates that we're having with our members and with those around us that have access to resources and information is critically important at this juncture. And I'll close with this, and then I'll open up for questions. One of the disturbing pieces of information I got yesterday was from the U.S. Department of Labor, all contracting agencies of the federal government. It was dated March 17th, and they're suspending all compliance to affirmative action guidelines. So immediately, people of color, women, are going to be excluded from these opportunities. And I think that is a problem. The president is about to, the Senate or Congress, I'm sorry, and this administration is about to put about $1 trillion or so, plus the other $250 billion that they're about to unleash on the economy. And you're suspending things that brought people in the process, and now you're going to be eliminating them. So our concern is that this is a top-down strategy, and those at the ground level, the baseline level, the small businesses are going to be excluded. And we're gravely concerned about that. And we're encouraging our legislators locally and at the congressional level to take another look at this, because we're all taxpayers. And then the corporations that are benefiting from this, they have exclusive contracts with some of the laboratories. And we're saying at this time, we need to get everybody possible in play to make it work. So I yield back with that. I can't hear you, Kimberly.
John, I agree with you. I recognize this being a top-down strategy from beginning. And I have a friend in Miami who owns a very sterile lab and manufacturing facility, because he manufactures a product that has to be sterile. And he has tried to offer it to, hey, I'll manufacture your test kits at a higher rate, just work with me. And they're not. They are not giving the resources right now to other facilities and what they call commercial facilities. They claim that, well, we're going to keep it in these labs. We need to be sharing our resources. I agree with you. How do we do this, John?
Well, I think we continue to unite our voices and challenge our congressional. They represent everyone, not just a select few. And it's unfortunate that, in times of crisis, when there's an emergency, a lot of rules are suspended that enable them to get monies out quickly. But if you don't put accountability measures in place, the same players are going to benefit, and those who are at the margins are going to be left to fend for themselves. And that's not a good situation. I mean, we're all paying to the tax system here. We all contribute to the upholding of our great country here. So in times of crisis, we should all there should be some reciprocity, if you will. And I submit to you that we need to call our local legislators and then those at the federal level and let them know that we don't think this is right at this time. And it's not right at any time here in America.
So, John, I have access to tools that we can do a bigger panel. We can have a very, up to 50 people on our panel. I've got access to a couple of senators here in North Carolina that Nick and I can contact, and maybe we can bring some senators, not just from each individual state in the state, but together like they should be.
Absolutely.
But I want to talk about something that your assistant and I were talking about before we came on board. The word has come out now. The reason why I was already believing that the stock market crashed was because people in government already knew what was going on. They were giving us one message while they were selling out their stock. What's the word on the grapevine there? This is not usually grapevine news, but this is important.
But that's criminal. I
It
mean,
is criminal. It
that
is.
is absolutely criminal. I mean, they take an oath to protect and serve. And, you know, this might be a bad example, but this is akin to putting their mask on first, right? Making
Why
sure.
they're telling us don't worry.
Okay. Let's stop right there. Okay. If he was a securities broker under FINRA, you're talking about Senator Burr, who I know personally.
No, it's not just Senator Burr.
Okay, that's who it was. Okay, and the thing is, in the world of securities, for your SEC licensed, the terminology is called pump and dump. And yes, that part is criminal. You pump your stock up. Oh, it's the greatest stock in the world, verbally, while you dump it. And it's called pump and dump. You can look it up on the internet. It's a great concept. Unfortunately, it is illegal. If you're licensed, securities licensed, or you're licensed under FINRA. But let's imagine you're a politician and you do pump and dump. Well, there are no laws that cover that. So if that happened, yeah, it happened. But if you're not securities licensed, well, you may just walk. And that's just the reality of it. In terms of your bottom up versus top down strategy, of course you do bottom up, not top down. But that's not how, unfortunately, our system generally works. They go from top down. And the sad part is the top, as we well know, the top 1% own 50% of all financial assets in the United States, and the top 10% own more than 90%, and the bottom 50% have nothing. So when the market went down, they lost nothing because they had nothing. However, when they lose their jobs, they don't get to eat, they don't get to buy drugs, they don't get to take care of themselves, they get thrown out on the streets. That's your bottom 50%. When your top 1% have a dive in the market, okay, so we don't have 3 million in our bank account today, we have 2.4. And they cry, trust me, they cry, but that's about it. They still eat, they still pay their bills, they still stay in their same homes, and things go on normally, okay, for them. And that's the realities of the situation here in the wonderful United States. We have people in India and Australia who join us, and of course, it may be different in other countries, but welcome to good old USA.
Nick, I want to make a point here of what you're saying, and you know, gosh, I don't know who muted you. There's a lot of wind there, so if you can get in.
I muted myself because I'm actually I'm self-isolating. If you see, I'm all around water, and I'm not in a cruise ship. Okay, so there's no people. That's called really self-isolating.
Okay, so that's the way you need to be around water. Water's safe. But let me tell you something. We learned all about this perfectly legal tactics that the top 1% know about, that the bottom 1% really don't know about unless you read that book, Perfectly Legal. So if you know, which I read, but it's perfectly legal in some cases, but it's very unethical. But I think as a leader, you have an obligation to people to not sit there and tell them everything's fine, we're going to be okay, and then you're over here pumping and dumping, or you're just dumping. You're not even pumping, you're just dumping. And then that to me is what brought our stock market down. I don't think Burr's the only one. I really don't. I think a lot of our leaders who knew that this storm was happening, I think a lot of them dumped. And our stock, that's what happens to a run on a bank, right? When everybody panics and I'm going to get all my money out now, the banks go. So John, tell us what you think.
I think it's akin to insider trading. I mean, these individuals were privy to information that society at large is not, and they took advantage of it. And I just think that's kind of an unfortunate situation given the severity of the circumstances throughout society. And as public servants or anyone that has insider information, my understanding is that that is something that trips the wires for breaking the law. And I'm sure folks will take a look at this, but we have issues. I mean, that's one instance. We're talking about taxpayer money, billions, in some instances, north of $1 trillion. That's going to be unleashed into the economy to prop up corporations and prop up a lot of enterprises. And all I'm saying is, I think on one hand, that's great, but on the other hand, we need to find some way to make sure that small businesses are part of the supply chain, second and third tier. And that's going to ultimately impact the people who are most vulnerable. That's the point I'm making.
I agree.
I'm all about
Yeah, and you're totally right. You need a bottom up strategy. This top down strategy is awful.
No, so Nick, go ahead, share with us what you're saying, because I think John hit the nail on the head. We need to start letting our smaller entities start help serving this problem and give the money to them too. What is your thoughts, Nick?
Well, that's entirely correct. I mean, when Obama did the TARP program, it did prop up the economy. And what we need is a bottom-up strategy. The top-down strategy is like incontinence. It just doesn't work. And they've had studies, the trickle-down economy doesn't work. Bottom-up economy actually does work, but the thing is, you need to convince the top to do that, and that's the real problem. There's a major league conflict of interest up there on the Hill, as we well know, and he pointed out the insider trading, otherwise known as 10b-5, which you learn in law school years and years ago. 10b-5, insider trading, illegal. But again, that's if you're a securities license or you're an executive of a publicly traded company. What happens if you're a politician? Not illegal. And that is an issue that everybody knows about on the Hill. And of course, they keep it quiet. So we're not supposed to discuss that. We'll have to.
No, we're not. And here's the thing. They're the ones who make the laws. This is what I keep telling people. It's the top 1% of the people who are in office making the laws for who? Not for you, for them. We need more common people on the Hill making our laws for the common people, not for the benefit of the rich or for the benefit of their parties. Again, most everybody is up there and they have party favors. They have to give back to their party, not to the people. John, what else are you seeing in the leadership world? I know that you've got meetings coming up, but what else can you share with us that we need to keep our eye open on? And maybe you can tell us how we can help.
Well, I think this show is a great vehicle to get information out. But what I'm encouraged by here in New Jersey is the regular engagement. Daily, we're disseminating information from various sources and making sure that folks are kept up to speed in terms of what's going on. I ventured out to the local Sam's Club last night, and it was not that busy. And, a lot of the meats were, clearly the chicken was wiped out at the time, and then some of the meats were gone. So people are really taking heed. They're stocking up because we're kind of anticipating, I believe Pennsylvania, which is our neighboring state, has issued some type of shutdown or limited coming out of your homes and businesses. Only essential players should be out on the street. So I think it's coming to New Jersey. If it's over in Pennsylvania, New York is slowly talking about how they want to limit folks going to and fro and throughout the community. California has already shut things down for their 40 million plus people. So I think that's the next move, and I'm prepared for that. And the great thing is I only live a couple blocks from the office, so I can take a leisurely walk and be right in the office. But for some people, I think it's really time. Need a warning that things are going to get real different here in the United States real fast. And so if they don't have what they need, I think it's time to go out and get what they need and make sure that they stay in touch with their loved ones and protect themselves at all times. I think some of the safeguards about how to properly clean your hands and clean surfaces, it was a revelation to me as it related to the surfaces. I thought I was doing that right.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I was also told if you're using your towels to wipe your surface, to boil the towels. This is a disease.
Wow.
You have to boil your towels. If you're using a paper towel, dispose it in a way that it doesn't touch anything else. So put it in those grocery bags that you throw away. Those are coming in handy now. But yeah, no, I'm learning every day from not just my world, but from our board of advisors from all over the world who are bringing guests from all over the world. This is how we learn. And here's something else. I'm using this time because it's springtime to plant seeds to grow food. So I have food that I can go pick out of my own garden in a couple of weeks, right? I mean, there are little things you can do today, plan today, don't panic, that you can use tomorrow. Like get your finances in place while you're sitting around being bored. Watch Nick's retirement class that he does on Wednesdays. Because he's doing a free retirement class. I mean, and you know, come listen to some other information. We're going to be doing classes for startups. Ankit and Willie and I are going to get together and we're going to be doing global classes for startup businesses. So while you're at home and you invent something, but there are other things we can do. John, do you have any information on what you guys are doing there in New Jersey?
Well, we're calling members daily. So I was just handed some of the responses that we received from members today, and these is really unfortunate circumstances for many. No current revenue for event planners and people who host events. Clearly, they're devastated. Worried about outstanding invoices until the office is back open, and when they're back open, will the people who owe them have the resources to pay them? How will employees pay their bills? And we know that there's some resources that are supposed to be let loose from the federal government, but that hasn't hit. Low interest in purchasing things that are not essential. Worried about personal health. So we're having daily check-ins with our members. We're sharing daily updates of information. As I said earlier, we had a rather extensive conversation with our U.S. Senator Cory Booker here in New Jersey, who made an inquiry to really get the pulse of what our businesses are experiencing and what are some of the recommendations that we might have. And so we had a ton of recommendations in terms of, you know, no one is going to be able to pay back a loan immediately. And making them pay interest and principal at this time, it makes no sense. So small businesses should be given some time to start with an interest-only payment and then slowly build up. There should be some forbearance for folks with mortgages. And there's some suspension here for utility bills payments in New Jersey and the ability to foreclose on mortgages and also evict individuals who are late on rent. I think those things are going to help a lot of people at the margins, but people have to be wise here. I mean, whatever food you have, whatever the other resources you have to manage them very properly because we don't know how long this is going to be. It could be, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, a month, several months. And so we need to be good stewards over the resources that we have. And those family members that are clear from a health perspective, you might be, try to pool your resources at this time, and that way you might be able to stretch them a little further. But daily communication is what's going to get us through this. And this is not the first time that America or the world has had crisis. And so this is our era, and this will go down as a part of our legacy on this earth. But everyone experiences some difficult circumstances during their existence here on earth. And unfortunately, this is our time. And how we deal with this all depends on how we stay calm, stay focused, and remember that we're all Americans and all a part of this world, if you will. And we got to learn how to coexist together.
So what we need to start doing is having another set of conversations that follow this show about what businesses can do, what resources are available for them, how business can rebuild and regrow. Like you said, this is a new day and time. I've been calling it AC. What are you going to do after Corona? Because this is a new reset button on our world, right? And one of the things I'm doing with a very strong, influential startup organizations down in Miami is we're going to plan an event after AC after Corona. We're going to help people build their business plans, their whatever it is that they're doing to reestablish, and we're going to start hosting that. And hopefully, people, instead of investing in stocks, will start investing in small startups and businesses and help your community businesses grow. Nick, what do you have to add to this in the business sector?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this is the very easy next thing to predict. High unemployment claims. Matter of fact, I believe Merit just laid off 10,000 people. Halliburton, 3,500. You're going to see unemployment skyrocket. Well, here's what
laid off 10,000.
Oh, yeah. Merit just laid off 10,000. Halliburton, 3,500. But watch what's going to happen next. Unemployment is going to skyrocket. This is not rocket science. You can easily predict in the next month, April's not going to look good. May's going to look even worse. And the unemployment claim is going to be huge. But here's what you're missing, the gig economy. These are the people and the service workers that can't file unemployment claims because they work for themselves, like Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, and a huge service economy that we have here. The people that repair homes and repair houses, et cetera. They're self-employed individuals. It's a huge sector, but they're not going to be able to go on unemployment because they were never allowed to even purchase unemployment insurance. So even the unemployment statistics that people look at are skewed favorably because of the gig economy. And these are people that just don't have claims.
I'm glad you said that, because I tell people all the time, stop looking at whatever they tell you that our unemployment's up or down, because I know for a fact that those numbers are calculated in a way that is very skewed. And
because it's skewed because it's based on people that have paid into the unemployment system. And there's many small business owners, you do not pay into the unemployment system. You're exempt from it. And if you lose your job, it's just way too bad for you. And you don't go collect unemployment. But that being said, there's still going to be huge amounts of people in the next 2 months. Brace yourself for this one, filing unemployment claims. Yeah, the market's going to reflect this going. But again, the people that have the market, they go, okay, so I don't have 3 million in my bank account, I have 2.1. They still eat. But the people that run the unemployment lines, and even worse, people that weren't able to go on the unemployment lines because they never had it. This is where you're going to see the real problems, and this is going to happen probably starting April and May. Not hard to predict. We went through a lot of this in 2008, when the market's going to go down. Now, I believe there's going to be a rebound coming because of potential cures, and also I believe that the virus has problems sustaining itself in hot environments. Just like what saved our friends down in Australia, Willie knows, it was the weather. It wasn't people. Weather came and the rains came and wiped out the fires in Australia. Well, the heat's going to come and it's going to mitigate but not eliminate coronavirus. And stay tuned for TV because my prediction number, my market's going to go over 20,000. Well, guess on the day it will over 20,000.
Hey, Nick, your sound is... Nick, your sound is gone. Yeah. Can you
all right.
Find a place a little bit better? Walk around or something, because your sound is bad. All right. So Nick is saying that things are going to turn around, but it's always going to be for the top end of our country. Ankit, can you share with us some of your financial situation in your country?
So the situation is pretty bad. Can you mute the camera?
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, yeah. So the situation in India is pretty bad, as everyone knows, and the Bombay is one of the financial capitals of India. They have shut down till 31st March. and I'm not sure whether the market will be available from Monday onwards. And because of the precaution, no one wants to take any chances. And mutually, the businesses, they have decided that if we have to live a better life, we have to shut down now. Because if we still try to do businesses as at this point of time, we might be having those COVID symptoms, and I mean, no one will be living anymore. So they wanted to shut down at for at least 2 weeks, and then accordingly they'll plan the show. So situation is bad. The daily wages workers, they are not getting payment on time. Government urges that people who have business, they should pay. I mean, everyone paid leave, so that everyone should get their money on time for daily living. But overall, it's more about panic. And today, from yesterday and today, the cases suddenly jumps up in India. So it's panic situation in India, and people are stocking the foods, and everyone is at home. And the Prime Minister of India urged the government that we have to do a people curfew on Sunday, 22nd March. So mutually, we have decided that from morning 7 to evening 9, no one will come out of their homes across India.
A closed
So
India.
across
That's
India.
never been done before, has it, Ankit?
That's never been done before. There were some chances at the time of World War II or maybe some emergencies, but not across India. And this is a mutual volunteer. What everyone urges that don't go out.
Don't go
But
out.
but the cases are like people have who visited London or Italy or France maybe a couple of weeks back. Now they have some symptoms, and they find out that they have a positive case. So that causes a problem, because those people, when they don't have the symptoms initially, they met a lot of people. So I mean, so we are still at stage 2, but I mean, it's a difficult situation, and we don't want to go to stage 3, which is a community symptom. So let's see.
What we're learning is that the people who didn't take the utmost precautions, extreme precautions, are the ones who are suffering the worst right now, because it's not a disease that you see when you're contagious, and you're contagious from onset. And they didn't tell us a lot of this. Most people thought it was like the flu. I'm not contagious until I see the symptoms. I'm not contagious till I have a fever. But this is a disease. This is a virus. This isn't a flu. This is a onset virus that we don't know. Very similar. I was told on the grapevine before the pandemic occurred that, somebody told me, Kim, this is the HIV viruses, but it will kill you in 4 weeks, not in 5 years. It will destroy your body. And I didn't believe them. I had to go out and read, and it was very difficult to find the research on this because they were not being transparent. And National Geographic was the first to come out with the article of what it does to the human body, because so many people were keeping this confidential because they didn't want a pandemic scare. They thought they could control it. But what they did was instead they caused a worse situation on the world. Willie, share with us a little bit about the financial impact in Australia, and what we're doing in Australia to kind of help curb the situation. Hold on, your mic's muted. Hold on. Can you unmute? There you go.
Okay. So what's happening now is we're rationing food at the supermarkets. You can only buy 2 liters of milk. And the same with toilet paper. You can only get a roll. And other essentials, breakfast cereals is limited to 2. And when I say limited items, this is limited by the security guard at the stores.
Wow.
So the security guard's doing the issue. And you join the queue, and some of the stores had, they opened like an hour earlier so that the elderly could get in and purchase food, mainly because when they opened at normal hours, the normal, like not elderly, would just push their way through the queues. So that's been put on hold, and now the elderly have a shopping hour from 7 to 8 in the morning to do their shopping.
Wow.
The other thing is, as I'm walking and doing my other stuff, I noticed the social distancing is a bit lapsed. People are still working in the old mode. They're not very aware of themselves. They just walk, and bump into you. Um, Yesterday, I saw this lady. She was all gloved up and had a mask on, but not using the distance. So the glove and the mask meant nothing if you don't have the social distance. And I thought, wow, yeah, we're doing something right, but at the same time, we're still doing it all wrong. The great news is in the startup space, quite a lot of the startups work remotely. So the social distancing was already there in place from before. And
Nick and I, yeah.
and that was just happening again.
We've been doing pod TV from home. So yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
set the example, right? Set the example. Work from home.
Work from home. Yes. Like marketing agencies all work from home. Government agencies are now told to work from home. I went in to sort out the visa applications. That's done online now. Yeah, whole lot of other scenarios. So
let me ask you this, guys, and this has really been kind of harping on me, is that we're sending all of the people to work from home. There's no more need. We're learning there's not going to be any more need for all of that real estate that people had, right? That Google sent home all of their employees, and they're like, gosh, people can just work from home and they can use their own electricity, their own phones, their own computers. We don't need this real estate, thousands and thousands of feet of real estate. John, how do you think this is going to impact that industry in itself? I mean, let's think about it.
Not good.
Not good.
My initial reaction is it's not good. I mean, we talked about the top down. The top is going to be always well, notwithstanding what economic swings we have. But the folks that are on the bottom, the corporations are going to have a hard time taking care of the space. The hotel industry is having some severe problems. People not traveling, not occupying. Similarly, those who lease space for offices, retail sales. Without revenue, without business, you're going to be adversely impacted. And given this cycle, 2 months, 3 months, those periods where there's a downturn in business, ultimately someone has to meet that obligation. If you don't have the revenue, when the bill comes, the decision is going to be made whether they continue the relationship with you or you part ways with consequences. So it's going to be a real problem. Small businesses who have done work, as I said earlier, are not going to get paid. So they can't pay their employees. They can't take care of their household, can't meet their mortgage obligations, can't make their car payments, can't pay their utility bills. It's going to be a pretty devastating economy across America. And then you look down the road, we have a big presidential election in November. And if this thing persists, what are we going to do about that? Are we going to do elections remotely? We already had a problem with someone breaking into the elections. You talk about rationing, where people become violent because they can't get what they want. Will they start looting? Will those who don't have go after those who have? It's going to be some very tough times ahead.
Someone told me yesterday that there's been a run on gun purchases and ammo purchases. So that was a very big concern of mine. And I've been part of the emergency situations in our city when big tornadoes have ripped the city apart. And the biggest problem we had after the impact was the looting. Right? People were looting facilities that were closed. They were going into grocery stores that were supposed to be, that didn't have energy to keep going. And so we would build human chain links around certain places so that the looting would stop. We
Absolutely.
literally, we can't do that in this kind of thing. We can't chain link together as humans. So we've got to be more creative. But I want to tell people, you know, like Research Triangle Park to me is a huge story about what happens to when buildings go empty. Our buildings were housing, you know, hundreds of thousands of people in this town, which was high research, big buildings. I'm talking manufacturing, huge campuses, and they all closed down. It's a ghost town there. This was years ago. And slowly they had to come in and just start bulldozing the buildings down because nobody ever came back and filled them back up. So you know, we're going to see something bigger than just everybody losing their money. You're going to start seeing buildings become ghost towns. And you're probably feeling that now when you walk into a building and you go, wow, there's nobody here. I'm the only one here. It becomes that big ghost town buildings. People can't maintain the buildings. They become dilapidated. Can we reuse those buildings to house homeless people and to reestablish, you know, because most of these buildings that I worked in were like campuses, like full-blown campuses with showers and gyms. And so can we repurpose these buildings? But these are things that we need to forward think on before we start tearing things down and be reactive. We need to start thinking now, be proactive. Maybe we can get our senators together on some GoToMeeting webinars where the public is part of their discussion, and we can have these whiteboards of these are the kind of talks we need happening now. I'm sure they are, but I think they're more in reactive mode than they are in proactive. Nick, can you give us a little input on what you think on this subject? I'm going to unmute you. Nick, where are you? Get out of the wind. I'm going to teach you. Get
Just
out.
a second. I don't know. I can't get out of the wind here, so give me a little time here. It is extremely windy here. So I'm on the waterfront, so just give me a little time.
Okay. I mean, it's lovely where you're at. I know I've been there. Stop coughing. Bless you. Bless you. So what is your thoughts on, you know, the buildings going empty? What you know, this is going to be bigger. I mean, I just spoke with a friend. He had to lay off half of his company yesterday. He just bought or leased a huge office space that he no longer needs. You know, he's in debt to them, you know, $20,000 to $30,000 a month for this space that he no longer can sustain revenue. I mean, we need to have a place where these people can go and learn how they can rebuild, because everybody's panicking. They're falling apart. Nick muted himself. So this is my concern. Sasha, share with us from Canada and even your country, Russia, what is happening there, and what are you guys doing to in your leadership talks to protect the people? Hold on. There you go.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
All. Of course, thank you, John. I enjoyed your presentation quite a bit. It's very informative. And now talking about Canada and Russia, very different countries, very different policies. In Canada, we have very detailed, going by provinces, how many cases and how many probable cases. Right now, there are 846 cases in Canada. That's it. And there's only 27 probable cases. So this situation compared to other countries, it's not so bad, I'd say. It's much better than Italy, for example. Maybe it's worse than Aruba. Who knows? Now, Russia is in complete denial of this. They treat this as a kind of a form of a flu, which is in some situations they think that it's worse than the flu, and some people saying that flu is much more dangerous than this. So this is very, very strange, and I really don't understand what what's the point? Maybe they shouldn't even talk about it if they don't treat it differently from regular flu. So I'm a little bit puzzled about what they think about it, and I don't have any statistics from Russia except generally released that everyone knows. But I was very carefully listening to your conversations, and it seems to me that, as I always said, there are three issues. One is health, medical, another one is financial, and the third one is political. And all three have to be taken into consideration. On the medical side, sure, we all more or less know what it is and what's the best way to protect yourself. Now, it seems to me that on the financial side, it's much more complicated issue. And it seems to me when you're talking about startups in that area, I think people with any financial assets, anyway, who has $2 million or who has $2,000, have to really take care of themselves and trying to build or rebuild, in some cases, their portfolios, and just not panic and just do the common sense situation. For example, what I'm doing in my investments, I'm looking for a stable company with a solid balance sheet, and preferably that there are options available. So, for example, yesterday I picked up a few thousand shares of CIBC. It's one of the leading Canadian banks. Very solid balance sheet, paying well over 8% dividends, and you could also write calls against this position. So you get stock which is about $53, $54, and I owned last year and it was $80, and I sold it and it started to go down and down and down and down. So now at $50 some, it's becoming extremely attractive, especially because of the dividends.
So we're going to have to say goodbye to John here real quick. He has to sign off. John, is there anything you would like to share with us before you sign off and go speak with the governor?
Well, again, thank you all for allowing me to participate. It's been very informative. And our biggest concern is how do we get money down to the baseline, to the least of these, to the small businesses? How do we get capital to them? How do we get other essential resources for them to get through this crisis? And so we're doing all we can here at the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, working closely with Governor Murphy and our senators and other representatives both at the federal and local level. Congressional woman Bonnie Watson Coleman has been very proactive, trying to keep us all engaged. And as it relates to those buildings that ultimately are going to be put on the marketplace, I'm encouraging those who have resources to start pooling them, because there's going to be opportunities on the other side of this that some of the smaller players, if they can pool their resources, they might be in a better position to acquire some of these assets and put themselves in a better position as we go down the road here. So again, thank you all, and aaccnj.com is our website, and we look forward to being on at another time.
Hold on just a second. aaccnj.com, right?
That is correct.
So John, real quick, why don't we all take a pledge that we will put together a task force, and as individuals, because sometimes it takes individuals moving forward to do things that our government isn't doing. But let's make a task force of a community worldwide that we can do this and make sure that the bottom people are not left out. I think we can. We can do another show after this if you're wanting to join us.
Count me in, and we're also looking to get other individuals that could be contribute to this global conversation. I'll share their information with you. There's a few folks we're talking to here in the state. They've expressed interest, and we're going to do our best to get them on.
And you know what? I'll get some senators on, and you get some senators on, and we'll do a big global talk on that.
We'll get it done. To my friends abroad, let's keep it going. God bless you.
Let's go. Let's make this right. Let's make this positive. Take care, John.
All right, be well.
Joining us. Wow, guys, is that inspiring, right? That is so inspiring to have somebody like that. And he is offering to bring the governor on board, a DNA expert, which I think we need to start looking at our DNA research. We've also got a guest that'll be joining us here in a minute. She was part of the HIV labs when HIV began, and it was a ghost, and nobody really understood it. She has survived many devastating storms in the disease world. So she'll be joining us here shortly. But let's talk a little bit more about our countries. I'm trying to get Nick to get back on where he can stay on. We're all still learning the use of our technologies. And Kit, maybe you can give us our update now too, our global update.
Yeah.
If you can share that with us and sometimes Nick, when Nick signs off, he that means he had to go. I know that we all have got other lives. Willie is on at 1 a.m. with us from Australia. Thank you so much, Willie, because you're giving up your blessed rest time to share with us what we're doing. And I'm going to tell you something, Willie. I've learned so much by hearing what you guys are doing that it almost makes me feel like I'm getting a heads up. And Sasha, you're sharing with us your experience and what's going on, and all of this kind of helps calm us down and say we're in this together. All right, go ahead, Ankit. I'm going to mute myself. Go for it.
Yeah. So today's stats, what we have is 39 new cases in China with 3 deaths recorded. We are not getting any news from Italy. Everyone knows that Italy is locked down completely. And if I'll just quickly showcase the Italy news. So more than 50,000 people in Italy charged with breaking quarantine rules. So, I mean, they are playing really hard with people who have symptoms and they're still going out. So that is what Italy is. And that's why Italy is in stage 3. If you talk about Spain cases are growing every day. I mean, yesterday it was around 1,500. Today we have more than 2,000 cases recorded with 210 people died. So that is also alarming in Spain. And if I'll share you the Spain data. So this is what the Spain data is like. So death toll surpasses 1,000, and Madrid is quite. All these cities in Spain are quiet, and there's no one on the roads, and everyone is trying to quarantine themselves. So same goes with Iran. They have more deaths than ever, with 1,000 more cases a day. And I mean, there is a conspiracy theory going on with Iran that they have more people dying, but they are not sharing the reports. NASA have released some pictures about that. USA with 11 new deaths and 648 new cases. If I break down to US, so we'll have the state-wise details. So this is what the US look like. New York with 4 deaths and 348 new cases. I think New York is completely locked down. I've seen a lot of pictures about on Times Square, and it's completely locked down. I've never seen those pictures. Washington with 1 new case, 74 deaths so far. I think Washington is closer to China. Might be people trying to come into US through Washington. California with 19 deaths and 51 new cases. California is also in lockdown mode, but still they have cases growing every day. New Jersey is with 9 deaths and no new cases. Florida with 15 new cases and 9 deaths. And if I quickly go to North Carolina, so we have around 18 new cases and no new deaths. So that is what the US is for us. And for rest of the countries, I'll just quickly wrap up.
It's very scary. And some of the things that I have been trying to get information on is that we're becoming a point that we can't even get treatment at hospitals. We need to keep the hospitals open for the people who have other diseases as well that can get in there safely and get their treatments. The medical centers, they're asking people, if you have flu-like symptoms, stay home, get pre-screening from home. If we need to send you a test kit, we'll send you a test kit. Let's self-contain this situation. I know we're all scared, but there are some self-treatments we can do, and something that Dr. Sagu, which I hope we get him back on, maybe even his own talk show, a little one every day, to help calm us down, because he really calmed me down and give us smart ideas. But, self-treatments, build your immunity, right? Eat healthier. And he mentioned some things, get more vitamin C, more vitamin D, and more vitamin B12 to build your immunity. Vitamin D can be gained by going outside, get some sun, some fresh air, but don't be around masses of people, right? Stay away from masses of people. Something else I've learned, and I'm not trying to scare or fear people, but just make you aware, because I think this is something that they withheld us for quite some time, is John Hopkins did a research paper, and it can be aerosol, what they call aerosol, meaning that little droplets can float around in air. They still believe the biggest way people are contracting it is touching and bringing it to your face. But it is somewhat considered airborne, and from what they've discovered, possibly for 3 hours in the air. We learned from Dr. Sagu that it can live for 2 hours on a surface.
On an object. Yeah.
Right. So let's think about our objects and surfaces. One of the things I learned is, letting it dry when you disinfect instead of wiping, because now you've contaminated two things. And you might not have allowed the spray that you use to do its job. So definitely when you spray, let it air dry. So these are things we're learning worldwide. I'm speaking with people from all over the world. We have a guest. I'm getting ready to let her on so that she can share with us the journeys. There are journeys, like 1918 was the big flu pandemic, influenza. We learned a lot of things from that, that's where our mask came from. I don't know if anybody knows this, but they had masks, but they weren't tight around the face. And they built these wired frames that went all the way around the face so that you could customize it, right? And this is what they did in 1918 to stop the spread. And then they said, this is how you use it. Most people just put it on, but pinch it to your face. Pinch it to your face. I still believe in the mask, but more for not spreading you and what you have, contain the situation. But anyway, Heidi Marie is going to be joining us. Heidi Marie Kramer. Good morning. Many blessings for a brighter future.
Good morning.
We all do namaste now instead of handshaking.
Namaste.
Because we're trying to teach people, give the example. Heidi Marie is in Miami, Florida right now. I know a lot of people in Miami. So, but she was part of the big storm in the 80s when HIV became a panic to the world, when it was a ghost. We didn't understand it. Heidi's also a survival when people did not survive. I'm going to let her share her story. Heidi, good morning and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, in those days, lots of memories come up for me from what had happened to me back in 1988. I was basically working night shifts I was studying medicine, and the night before my medical exam, I found out that I was HIV positive, and I had no other risk factors than treating people who've been treated with HIV-contaminated blood products. It was the big blood scandal, and I got basically HIV through work. My partner was negative. I had no other procedures, and it was like a healthcare accident. And I learned a lot from that disease, and those are things that we can apply now also to the crisis with Corona. So basically what happened to me, when I found out, I had this feeling I will not die of this, and I always kept up my hope, and 75% of the people who were infected at that time did not make it. So I'm one of the 25% survivors. And I was kind of also beating the odds because I had a very aggressive virus. And very soon my immune system was depleted. There was no treatment and everybody was scared of HIV. And it was also like kind of, how do you prevent the spread from others? And that was also like distancing, safer sex, and being consequent. And now this is something like I can only share. It is very, very important. We have no tests available, and we don't know whether we are infected. We're asymptomatic. It's very, very similar to this. I have to be cautious, everybody, and I just can't endorse the stay home messages anymore, because all we have now is prevention. And until we have a treatment, it's very, very important that we use the things maybe that we learn from the HIV research, what helps above and beyond treatment. And later, after I survived HIV and survived its early treatment, because the early treatments were very bad, and I almost also not only died of HIV, I also almost died of its treatment. I made my way back to university and studied psychology and came to Miami studying psychoneuroimmunology, basically the connections between psychological, spiritual factors and the immune system. And SARS-CoV-2 is also an RNA virus, and it leads to basically a severe immune reaction. It's an overreaction of the immune system that causes those symptoms. It has these little S spikes that dock into your body cells, and the respiratory symptoms are actually an overreaction of the immune system. So here what we have to do, we have to prevent this immune system to overreact. And what we found that the mind also has an enormous control over the immune system. So like with the HIV, you have a disbalance between the CD4 cells, the CD8 cells. The CD8 cells go berserk, the CD4 cells get rapidly depleted. And this is what happens in the people who have an overreaction to the immune system. And there are certain factors like meditation, for example, positive thinking, finding meaning and purpose in life, which has an effect on our reaction of the immune system. Those are kind of like natural defense mechanisms that we have. Another important point is also helping others. For instance, we found that people who are altruistic and who help others with HIV, they had a higher life expectancy. And here's one interesting treasure that we might have. We have to consider also, looking at the numbers that we just shared, many people may eventually have been, including myself, infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus and have developed immunity. And yesterday we found a test which is very similar to the antibody test that we had before to HIV. The article was published. It's a small ELISA test, and that can detect if we have antibodies to the virus. So those people who've been already infected and build up immunity, they will be able to treat others without having the risk of being infected. Because we have that also in the spread of Ebola, which gives a lot of hope.
So this is huge news. And one of the things is interesting is one of the things when you worked in the HIV world and then became infected from it as well, but then you understand the research techniques that need to be done. Immediately when you heard about this, you got out there and started digging and learning what people, what needs to be done, what's going on, the right resources to go to. But already we're learning that there is ways to do some other testing so that we could potentially be able to bring people that have an immune system against it could come in and help. So how do we get these resources connected? We need to share this with the world. We don't need to just keep it to ourselves in one location of the world, which happens all too often. We've got a global board of advisors here. Let's spread the news, right? That there are some solutions. Maybe we can take whatever they're doing and redevelop it and build it in India and use that tool in India, use it in Canada, use it in Australia. I mean, this is very important, Heidi Marie. How do we get these people to share this?
Well, whoever has contacts, for instance,
I'm passing on those websites and everything, but we need to get that. We need a task force that says, let's connect these dots.
Yeah, so whoever has contacts to global players in CDC, WHO, we need to share this knowledge and create the awareness. This test is low cost. And another, I went to Haiti in the wake of the cholera. We were thinking about ways how to disinfect and prevent the spread of the disease. And there I went into research on hypochlorous acid. And this is a substance which is basically electrolyzed water, which can be produced where all you need is a device that converts water plus salt into electrolyzed water. And it's very cheap and it's low cost. And it's been used widespread already in agriculture, in hospitals and universities. And South Korea had a proposal already out to use this in the spread of SARS coronavirus.
So, Heidi, this is very important.
Very effective.
I want to pause at this moment. So sometimes you have to say, people, let's really focus in on this, because this is something we could do from home to help self treat and disinfect. This is a very, very important. Heidi, do you have, because you can share your screen, do you have a recipe for this that you can share on your screen for people? And then I want you to finish your story. I'm sorry for interrupting, but
problem.
I want people to really focus on that. This is a solution.
Yes, I already sent it to you yesterday. Let's open, I think I can open it via the link that I shared with you. I'm sharing it quickly. So this is the proposal from South Korea, which should come up in a moment. The proposal for the coronavirus measures, and I can share the website. And this will is a proposal from South Korea. This is a machine that can be used in hospitals. They also have small devices for households, and this is a spray. Basically, this substance is produced by our neutrophils in the primary response to defend our body against bacteria, viruses, and fungus. And this can be simply produced out of water and salt. It's completely non-toxic and can be sprayed in the air. It can be also inhaled. It's used also to treat viral conjunctivitis, for example. The main ingredient is salt and water. And interestingly, like those are test results from South Korea before and after in a 10 to 20 second hand washing before meals. So that's like very fast. And the spectrum includes influenza, SARS, and norovirus. I looked up, there has been a very intensive study also on norovirus on this product. And this is very cheap, and it can be endlessly reproduced. To produce 1 liter of disinfectants at home, it takes 8 minutes. And there is a device that I just ordered that costs like $40, and it can be delivered to households. And some machines have it, and we could spread it like hand sanitizers. Unfortunately, it disintegrates after several hours, so it has to be reproduced fresh. But this can be used and at distribution points and help people who are affected to sanitize their home, to have home isolation.
So if you can pull it up so that we can put it on, share the screen so people can kind of get it. People like visuals, and let's share this, because this is very important, because this means you don't have to go out and buy bleach, ammonia, boil. These are still good things, but this is something you could reproduce at home that they're using in the hospitals. That's very cost effective. That's not damaging to the body. Salt water has always been healthy. When I go to the ocean, the beach all the time, to usually detox my body and mind. we've heard that gargling salt water is very healthy if you get this disease, to gargle salt water because the disease enters the throat. But these are also things that Dr. Sagu was sharing with us yesterday, right, Ankit? We need to calm down. So do you want to remind us a little bit about what Dr. Sagu shared with us? Hold on. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah. So Dr. Sagu, gave us good information about how to fight with coronavirus. So first of all, we have to stay calm and keep ourselves and our family protected, and try to wash your hands the best way you can, including all the, in between finger things like that. And then 20 minutes of hand wash is good enough. And they also mentioned that how to wear a mask and how to protect your mask, because it's not just about wearing a mask. Because if you wear a mask, then generally the virus spread either through eyes or nose or mouth. So we can cover something, a mask like this, where our nose, nostrils, and mouth are covered, but the eyes are still open. And then people who have beard, they have to wash their beards every 15, twice or thrice a day. And people who are wearing glasses, they have to clean the glasses with fiber. If someone can take a bath after coming back home, they can take a bath. So there are small lifestyle changes which we have to do, not for corona, but for future as well, to make our society in a healthy mood.
And what Heidi Maria is talking about is that these are things that
I think Kim is she'll join basically. I think she lost the connection.
I hear you.
Too many buttons. I'm going to get this. But you know what? This is the fun of what we do, is we're learning the technology. But what I'm saying is Heidi Marie, Ankit, you were showing us the disciplines we need to do, which is very, very important. Heidi Maria is sharing with us the way we can do and develop a chemical, not even a chemical, but a solution that is safe to our bodies, which is nothing more than water and salt. And then you electrify it in this machine, and it creates a chemical that is very healthy and safety, that will disinfect you. And that way we don't have to be going out to the stores and buying these bottles of products that sometimes can be more dangerous to our bodies later than not. Just like Heidi Marie shared, sometimes it's not just the disease that'll kill you, it's the cure. And I've had that happen to me before when they treated me for years with my disease. They told me I had 10 years, but they didn't tell me it was because of the medications they were giving me. 10 years later, I did have a fatal incident. Fortunately, they brought me back. But it was the drugs and medications that they were giving me that caused all my organs to shut down over the years. So sometimes our cures can kill us. We have to be very careful with the amount that we use. The disciplines of using it right, like Ankit was showing us, get into just on your body. Right. So Heidi Marie, this is a great solution. I want to buy one. So if you can share your screen with us about where we can buy one. I definitely want to get one in my home. It might be something that I use in not just after this or during this, but I'll continue using it because it sounds safe. And
I'm just watching.
I don't know about you guys, but I hope that there's not a run on salt after this. But I don't know about you guys, but I gargle with salt water, and I always say, man, this can kill anything. It tastes horrible. I'm a firm believer that anything that tastes horrible must be good for the body.
Yeah.
The one I ordered is already a bit more expensive now. Here's one that you can buy for the home use.
If you want to, see how if you can't share your screen, if you tell me where it's at, I'll share it.
Okay.
What
Should I put it in the text?
Go ahead. Let's see.
It's coming. And the coronavirus proposal from Korea is in your text as well.
And what website is this?
This was just one from eBay.
Okay, so you're getting it from eBay. What are they called? What is the device called?
It's you just type in electrolyzed
देश कोरोना से डट मुकाबला कर रहा है और प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी खुद इस पूरी सिचुएशन पर नजर रखे हुए।
All right, go ahead. Anke, was that you? Hello. That was interesting. So go ahead, Heidi Marie. What website?
If you just go to type in eBay electrolyzed water, you're going to find it.
Electrolyzed water. So that's what we need to look for.
Yeah.
So hold on. Electrolyzed water. Wow, that popped up right away. Everybody must be buying one of these. So let's see. Wow, they're $150 in some places.
Those are already sold out.
But let's get this screen shared so that we can share with people what it looks like, and that they can make a decision for themselves if they want to do this. Let's see. There we go. I hate these ads. Here we go. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the big one.
So that's a big one.
That's a different one.
Right, but that's just kind of what you're talking about, though, right?
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah.
The Life Iozone alkaline water products. There are different sizes, different types. I'm sure there's going to be fake ones out there. Is there something that people need to look for, a term that says that it?
Yeah, that's not the one. That's different. One is produced, and restaurants have it, and restaurants who have this can become distribution places because they can produce this in high quantities. They're closed right now, but they can open, and similar to distributing hand sanitizer, that can distribute the spray for the households.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, I would see something like this in a spray bottle too. I like to spray things. Yeah. But let's think about this in a smart way, so we all just don't go out and buy this. And I like that. How long does it last? You said it's got a short lifespan. What is
like 3 hours. So basically, you produce it and then you use it within the next 3 hours, and you can disinfect your whole home. You can use it on the laundry. You can use it on your hands, all the surfaces, the floor, the air, and that could be used also widespread to treat areas, or it could be used in senior homes to reduce the spread.
And check this out, guys. They're having a flash sale on this now for 48 hours on this one. She said this isn't the actual one. There are cheaper ones that you can get, the more cost effective, smaller. These are big ones. But they're have this particular place. I mean, I just picked this out of random. I'm not advertising for them. So, I'm probably going to shut my screen down here so that we're not advertising for them. But there are things that we could do to self-treat, right? This is what we're talking about. Self-treatment, self-containment, because why? We're in isolation. There are proactive things that we could be doing, thinking ahead for AC after Corona, because this is probably one of the biggest impacts the world has had. Some people are saying that, and I want the panel talk on this. Some people are talking out there that this is some politically driven false nightmare or drama situation. What are your thoughts? Ankit in India, what is the talk there? Are people taking this serious? Or are they saying that are there rumors that it's fake?
So people are taking it seriously. Most of the Indians, they're taking it seriously, and the government is in tremendous support. They're doing the best what they can do, and they're urging and helping people to help them, because government is also helpless in such a big economy with so much of population. So they want people to come forward and help each other and remain calm and collective. That is what they. But
I
still,
think that would, yeah. I would get rid of those thoughts that this is a fake drama scare. I would say err on the other side of let's think the other way. I'm glad to hear India's taking it safe. Sasha, in Canada, how are people talking that this is just a fake scare, or are they really taking this serious now?
Okay, as I said, in Canada, relatively calm situation, although some people, including my daughter, they're very panicky and they're thinking about it, in my opinion, much more than it's worth it. But she has all rights to do that, and obviously her point of view is valid in my opinion, and I've learned not to argue with her because that's the only way for me to see my two grandchildren in a relatively short period of time. I still hope that it will happen. Now, as I said, in Russia, the situation is completely different, and I mean, their talk show, that's really something incredible, and I'll talk about it on separate occasion. Somebody's busy in his phones. Okay, so what I'm thinking about it, obviously all businesses definitely, I have to confirm, going online. There is, actually speaking about India, I just had a couple of hours ago, a person from India in my apartment. It was internet provider's person who installed a new modem for me, and I've asked him about the situation in India, and he told me that India is all shut down. There's nothing happens at all. Everything is closed. Mind you, he lives here in Toronto, and but he has a lot of ties to people in India, and he came here recently, probably around 5 years ago. So he has a lot of relatives, friends in India. So he knows, in my opinion, what he's talking about. So this is a situation, I think, I'd like to stress what Kim just reiterated is you have to stay calm. You really have to. You have to analyze a lot of things, what's happening, what's going on, read different points of information. I'd like to show you, for example, yesterday I got, it's a financial publication by the name Power Elite. And the people who publish it, one of them is John Markman. He's a very, very experienced and knowledgeable investor, and extremely high profile. You can look up on the internet on him. And there are two things what I found very interesting. Number one, that he believes that professional money managers are at it again, the way he said it. They are, I'm reading, they're trying to shake small investors out of the stock market, writing gloomy reports, sending surrogates to flood the airwaves with misinformation about a pandemic that could be unlike anything we have ever seen before. Now, even this, I want to tell you something interesting. When I'm trading stocks, I have level 2 quotes. What means level 2? You don't only see a bid, the best bid for shares and the best offer, but you also see underlying bids and offers. And what you see in a moment like when market really drops, all of a sudden, the bids are disappearing. For example, I want to tell you, I was watching few stocks. One of them, Boeing, because it's widely held stock, and Boeing is one of the world quality companies. Now, interesting things, for example, the stock is offered at 130, say 100 shares, not that large quantity. But the bid is only 127, and only for 10 shares. So all of a sudden, even if a small investor wants to sell his, say, 100 shares of Boeing, he has to go down $3. And even though the bid, remember, is only for 20 shares. So he can't even do that because the next bid is only at 125. So any meaningful, not even enormous, but just very, very small selling by retail investors drives stock down big time. And in my opinion, market makers are failing to do their job, unfortunately.
Right. So you hit the nail on the. I think you hit the nail on the head, Sasha, with you know, some of the things that people are talking about, that this is fake and stuff like that. Ankit is sharing with us some of the spreaded news out there about how this is impacting that kind of news. And Ankit, and then I want to talk to Willie about what they think in his country in Australia about this in a minute. But Ankit, share this with us if you don't mind.
Yeah. So today the news just released from US. So I'll just play the news and we'll talk about it.
I think it's
okay. So let's share this for a second, because I think Sasha hit the nail on the head.
The use of a decades-old malaria drug had been approved for treatment in COVID-19 patients by the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. However, minutes later, the Food and Drug Administration said the drug had not been approved for coronavirus treatment. For more, our reporter John Lauerman joins us now. John, just generally, you know, we're in a search for drugs here, and there's so many starts and stops lately that the consumer certainly and the investor probably doesn't really know what to do.
Yeah, the interesting thing about chloroquine, the malaria drug, is that these drugs are actually used experimentally. Any doctor really can use any drug that they want, whether or not it's approved for an indication that they think it might work for. I think the evidence around chloroquine is actually relatively thin. It could be an interesting thing to see whether or not it works. And actually, the WHO just said a couple of days ago that they're going to conduct a large trial to compare a number of different experimental treatments all against each other. Remdesivir, which is the Gilead drug that we've already heard about being used experimentally in China. Kaletra, the AbbVie drug that's obviously already on the market, is going to be part of that test as well, and so is chloroquine.
Yeah.
Heidi Marie, what do you have to say about that? That's pretty interesting.
It is very interesting. Yesterday, I pulled out an article, and in China, they did a testing which drugs show sensitivity towards the virus, the SARS-CoV virus, and this newly drug, the chloroquine, and other drugs, also remdesivir and Kaletra, several HIV treatments, flu vaccine. It is potential that those drugs work in combination. So we're doing the same thing that we did in the HIV/AIDS arena, just in a more rapid scale, trying experimental treatments. And I think there's lots of hope in it. I was reading one study more carefully also on Kaletra, and it reduced the time on ICU. It didn't reduce death or anything. It didn't reduce basically the outcome, but people who got better faster. So I think there's lots of hope that we're going to find treatments. Another hope is also antibody treatments. Now that we can detect who has antibodies, we can use these antibodies as a passive immunization. Basically, people who recovered, who could take their blood to produce a protective vaccine. Studies are under the way also to do this. Another encouraging report, which is also just still experimental, was 7 people who've been treated with stem cells, a stem cell transplant, and those were patients who've been severely affected, and they recovered. It was like a small study versus 3 people who did not recover, and 1 patient who recovered was severely affected by SARS. It was a poorly done and fast study. It's all pilot data material, but a lot is going on, and if you want, I can share those research studies that I pulled out yesterday, so that you get the results of those studies. But I do not think that one single drug would help to overcome it. There are also other drugs that have been used for hepatitis C virus, drugs that affect the immune system. So we need to have perhaps a comprehensive approach, similar to HIV, to tackle the issue.
And I think that's correct. I think we need to start taking proactive measures. We're reacting way too much and fast. I think Dr. Sagu had brought this up, and maybe we can have more panel discussions on the proactive measures because of your reason. You know, one of the reasons I love having you here is that you've already survived one of the world's worst storms of viruses, and you are a testimony that we will survive this. And you said something that even Dr. Sagu mentioned, which was we have to get the right mental state of mind, right? Stress creates a lower immune system. A lot of people don't know this. Unless you're playing chess. And if you're playing chess and you're stressed out, you're losing 6,000 calories. I didn't know that till today. I had to get that in for Nick. But so the thing is that we need to start finding things to do, get back to our own home, our own community. Maybe some people are saying this is our way of nature telling us to get back to what's important in life. Nature is telling us to reset. Nature's resetting us and preparing us probably for something even more challenging in the future. Right? Because we've noticed this corona, this is the third strain of the corona. Each one gets more powerful and more dangerous, just like HIV was very new to us. And I think it reset our society. HIV reset us 100% in the way we communicate with people and the way that we dealt with a disease. So many people try to turn it into a witch hunt. And everything in it, and it wasn't. We later learned that it was just another virus, and that nature gave us a challenge. I think this corona, we need to be preparing for more.
I think, we can prepare ourselves, but we have to prepare others as well, because if someone is having a symptom, they can kill anyone else.
That's right.
So as a society, we have to prepare everyone else, and people who don't have that mindset that what to do and how to do and all those things. So we have to run a lot of awareness campaigns across the globe and let them understand that this is for everyone, not for me and not for you. I was reading an article about Miami Beach. There was a gay party happened, and then there were a lot of positive cases in that party, and then people are still outside. Roaming around. You hear any news about that?
Yeah, no, it's something that happened here. I'm glad you brought that up. They continued having concerts last weekend, over the weekend, and they continued to allow them because so many people had invested so much money. So this is where the pressure of the common core of the community said, no, we still want to do this. Well, somebody was contaminated in those tens of thousands of people in that tight arena, right? Your seats are on top of each other. And somebody was contagious, not only contagious, they were having symptoms and they still went.
Yeah.
And so now they contaminated everybody in their chairs around them. So while that was growing, because once you become contaminated, you contaminate.
Certainly.
So now everybody in that tens of thousands of arena who couldn't say, I can risk losing $100 ticket, are all contaminated.
We have to decide about whether we need money or we need life.
Or this wasn't even about needing money. This was, you know what?
So people, so people are still calculating that if I don't go to the event, I'm losing $100. So I think we have to pick one thing. Life is more important than money. We can earn money later on as well. That's what the human beings have done so far. We have progressively growing at a very fast pace, but we have to give something back to the world, and then that is what we are not doing it. And it's time to reset and correct the complete human civilization.
Right. We need to learn new disciplines. This was one of those situations where the leader of our state allowed the community to pressure him into doing something that wasn't right. He should have canceled all events he kept saying, you know what, we're still going to do events that are 100 people. The CDC says 50, but you know what, but this was tens of thousands of people crammed into an arena. That should have never happened. That should have been canceled. And now you've got tens of thousands of people who they don't just live in one community. They lived from various different communities, and now they went back home that night. They spread it all around. You know, when you go to these concerts, people are drunk, they're careless. And you know, I'm sorry,
I'll tell you
about it.
I'll tell you about a case, because in India, we are doing a lot of awareness campaigns for doctors who are treating at this point of time to the patients. So one of the doctor at a nearby place, he visited to a patient because that patient was not feeling well. And then after doing the basic testing, he realized that he's COVID positive. But the doctor, when he went for his checkup, he was also COVID positive. So then
they
both
found
of them
this
are
out
in
here
isolation.
as well at one of the maternity facilities, because we have some places that are just maternity facilities, and one of the doctors was infected. He was very brave and coming out very fast the minute he found out about it. Because he felt very, very bad. Of course, it's not his fault he became infected. He wasn't informed soon enough. The CDC should have put us in more fear. So now some of our doctors were contaminated, who then contaminated their patients. And that was another issue that we brought up the other day. I started doing more research about what are the hospitals doing for the mothers-to-be that are going to be delivering in this storm. They're taking very, very strict precautions. They're telling the fathers they can't even come into the facility when the babies are being born, that they have to drop the mother off. I guess that there are going to be tests as the mother's brought in. The doctors are self-contained when they deliver the baby. So there's all kinds of new methods. They are separating the facilities as well. Some facilities are even taking bigger steps, and a different complete section of the building is just for mothers to be. Another section is for, you know, treatments of a certain kind. They're trying not to cross over. But if you have a flu-like symptom, stay home, right, Ankit?
Yeah, true. And also, we are still at stage 2. If we cross stage 3, I don't want we should do it. But if we start stage 3, we don't have that much amount of ventilators across the globe.
No, we
So
don't.
we would be needing a lot of ventilators, and we don't have it. So we are not prepared for stage 3. So we have to stop it at any point of time. If we have to close the world, we have to close the world for a month, 2 months, live a healthy life. We still have fruits and vegetables to eat, because the government is saying that they have rationing for next 9 to 12 months. So we are good to go in India. But if we think about the profits, if we think about the market, if we think about a lot of things, I think we are, playing with our human culture, which is, I think, which is not appropriate at this point of time. I would like to ask a couple of questions to Ms. Kramer. That I am concerned about that we are still humans and we can still talk and discuss a lot of things. But what about animals? I mean, they're also carriers to COVID-19. So how we can protect animals and how we can protect ourselves through those animals?
That's a difficult question. Like, we don't even know if it spreads over. I mean, it's a potential that it also carries over to animals. It spread from one bat to a human, and vice versa. There is a potential. Nobody knows.
No, but there was a news in Hong Kong
that I have that you mentioned, the testing. I mean, we have, and this is like the only approach that we have if we're able to test, but we don't have the options to test people. In Miami, my son had symptoms after he did food deliveries to people who were sick, and then he had fever, dry cough, and that's why I'm self-isolating also. Then we made it to the doctor. We asked if the test is available, and then the doctor said, sorry, we do not have tests. And this is why we are so far behind South Korea. South Korea damped it by testing and treating, and they were isolating the people at home unless they had severe symptoms. So only people with severe symptoms should go to the hospital, and the rest should have family isolation. And this is how they contain it. This is a virus that could be contained with strict quarantine, disinfecting, testing, and treating and isolating those who are infected.
And what do you think about paracetamol? Salt. Do you think that will work for people who have symptoms or people who still have some kind of cough and cold?
Actually, now yesterday it came out that this a warning from French was a hoax, and ibuprofen, for instance, is safe to take. And I think, bearing in mind that steroids don't work, but we need to have something to cut down this immense inflammation. And since we don't have anything better, if you have the flu-like symptoms, I think ibuprofen might be a safe way to reduce the overreaction of the immune system.
Okay.
So
and in
that's,
India, what we yeah.
go ahead, Ankit. Very good. Go
So
ahead.
in India, how we are trying to, do the testing manually without doing any kind of test is that you have to hold your breath for some time. If you are good to go for 35 seconds, you don't have coronavirus, because people who have coronavirus, they are breathless. So they'll start taking breath after 5 seconds. So that's what the practice people are doing, and that also increase your immunity as well. So likewise, if we start holding our breath and then count on a meter for how much time you can hold it, I think if you cross around 35 seconds, you are safe.
I can only warn from this. This is like not a safe way to text. You have to bear in mind that only 14% of those who are infected develop symptoms, and this only applies to the people who have severe symptoms affecting the lungs. So the majority of the people will be infected with corona, not feeling anything, having mild or no symptoms. 14% have zero symptoms. So if you add that up, this is not a safe way, and this is something to spread such news. It's been a fake security.
I agree. I mean, we do a lot of yoga asanas in India, so we do a lot of breathing exercises. So that wise, people who do the yoga every day and they practice for 10 to 12 times, they have good breathing habits.
Yes, that's very important. Also, good breathing habits really affect the immune system.
Yeah.
Having a strong cardiovascular and system is very good. Developing those practices now is not a bad idea. Maybe we can get some people on our fitness channel to host some of these meditation practices from around the world. We can become friends, right? We can link together via this mechanism and learn to develop the right habits for breathing. One of the things I wanted to share with you was a little joke that a friend of mine and I were having. He's from California. He's actually one of my best photographers in the world. In fact, if you ever want a great cameraman when this is over with, I don't want to put a run on him because I want him available with me, but it's Francisco Duran. He's probably one of the best, most reliable directors and cameramen in the world. But anyway, he was sharing this with me, and the joke is that we're talking about building your immune system, eating the right foods, right? And he goes, look, there's plenty of food at the grocery store. Why aren't you guys buying this? Everybody's stocking up for the storm, and they're forgetting about feeding their bodies. The most healthiest produce in the world is right there. Look at all that. Look at all that food. Fresh produce, bananas, cabbage, cantaloupe. We don't even have cantaloupes at our place yet. I mean, I would give anything for a fresh cantaloupe right now, or a watermelon, a really good watermelon. But all of these foods right here are what develop our immune system and make them healthier. And we're walking right past them when they're right there. What are your thoughts on that, Ankit? Because I know that you guys are really big on healthy foods.
Yeah, so we have a lot of good fruits and vegetables in this season, and then people are buying and stocking all those fruits, vegetables, and then we have a lot of homemade recipes available at this point of time. So everyone is trying hard to get the best of the healthy food they can and trying to improve the immunity. We are followers of yoga and Ayurveda. In that also, we do a lot of things with plants, and sun-dried fruits and vegetables also help us doing so.
Exactly. You can take these fresh ones and make them dehydrated and eat them later. I mean, come on, people. All of this food's going to rot. I mean, we got to eat what's there too. Don't just eat what's available. You know, Willie, I want to get back to Australia because you guys are going on food rations. What about the fresh foods? I was even thinking it'd be great to get the local farmers involved to bring us fresh foods.
Yes, there's also a run on fresh food. Veggie market. Today I was in the market, and a lot of the veggies were kind of like in low supply. Mushrooms totally gone. Bananas, like they were just in this whole stand. There were just like 6 left. Yeah, pumpkins survived. I don't know why. Pumpkins survived. Yeah, there's just been a run on all the vegetables. I think why vegetables is high on the racks is because of their use by date. Because vegetables do not have a long shelf life.
Oh, unless you know how to can. I'm sitting here thinking I want to get to that market and I can start canning at home because that's a boring job, but I'm at home. So
Yep.
I could chop and freeze. I mean, my freezers are full now, but I'm canning, you know, learn how to can. You know, you got to buy jars, but I see so many different things you could do with all of this food, freeze drying. We can have lessons on that, right? Go Google it. But there's no reason for that food to go bad.
Absolutely.
I mean, when my friend showed me this, I was just devastated. He posted it to me on Facebook. And so I think that, like you said, there's a run on food. They're rationing it in your country. I think that they need to start moving to those measures in our country. I think they slowly are in my community because they asked me the other day, is there something you need that we can set aside for you when the truck comes in? Right. And so that's what they're looking for now is don't just come in and buy up everything.
Is that the result of a drop in supply, or are stores just struggling to keep up with how fast those items are flying off the shelves? We sent News 8's Heather Hope to find out, and she has this report.
Each day, stores see shoppers line up, ready to get food items, but leaving disappointed as they haven't seen their items stocked on the shelves. So we talked to the store manager here at Hills in San Carlos, who says the food does exist in warehouses. It's just taking some time to get to you from delivery trucks.
There's plenty of food in the warehouses. The warehouses are just struggling with the delivery to get it to the retailer.
At Hills grocery store in San Carlos, keeping certain foods on the shelves has been a challenge amid the coronavirus outbreak.
We had bread delivery this morning, and the bread was gone in like 8 minutes.
Hills store manager 30 years, Brian Hare, has put limits on hot items like bread, eggs, and all paper products, which they are out of and don't expect to get until Tuesday.
All stores are in the same boat. I mean, they're waiting for the manufacturers at this point. I mean, again, this is nationwide.
They're fully stocked on perishable items like meat, produce, service deli, liquor, and bakery, and everything else like canned goods, pastas, and cereals are slowly making their way down the aisle as this store gets 1,000 case allocation order per grocery load.
That's presenting some challenges, but there's food in the warehouse, so there's food on the way, and you're getting loads every other day.
This Rouse Food for Less distribution center in LA provides more than 300 stores in the area.
There's food here, there's food coming in into our warehouses, exiting our warehouses. We just need to get it to the store.
Workers say the big challenge has been getting timely delivery. They've increased their loads to 100.
So I think there's no fear of a food shortage based on this story. I think that what we need to do is be patient. There's plenty of food in the warehouses. You know, folks, just don't go doing a run on this and run this empty on me. This is my favorite. And if I run out of this, I'm going to be very unhappy. But I think rationing foods. I love the fact that my local grocery store asked me if they're, you know, we're getting a new shipment. Is there something you specifically need we can set aside for you? My concern too is medications, right? I have to have routine medications, especially if I don't get my treatment, which it looks like I'm not going to get my monthly treatment if they shut down that part of the hospital, or if my doctor's sick and I can't go in. So I might miss my monthly treatment, and then I'm going to have to depend on medications. And I don't know that the pharmacies are going to have them in the amount that I need, but they don't allow us to have a future prescription refill, if that makes any sense. So I'm hoping that they lift that ban and I can get the prescriptions I need so that they don't run out, because I've had them run out of the store before of my prescriptions. So these are my concerns, and some of my prescriptions, they cannot just call it in. They have to prescribe it a little at a time. They cannot mail my prescriptions to me. My prescriptions are that kind of prescriptions. They can't even mail them. So I'm trying to get that lifted so that I at least know I have a stockpile in case, they can't give me my treatments. So these are things that people are not thinking of ahead of time to be proactive about. That I think we need to start thinking about. Stop panicking, self-contain, get back to calmness, and think forward. And also think about AC. Plant a seed in your pots, in a little potted garden if you don't have land, and have a growing tomato and pepper plant, and make your own salsa, and we'll have a Corona party with salsa. But we gotta, and I think we are resetting, and I think we need to plan for what are we going to do after all of this. And Heidi, Maria, I think that you've brought us some good sound advice. We have survived one of the most horrific diseases in our humanity and lifetime. We always thought it was the flu, which does still kill many, many people every year. People don't understand this, but there are 136 women who are killed a day just in the UN alone from domestic violence. And we don't do a pandemic fear on that. So we need to say, okay, this is killing a lot of people. This is going to damage the body, but let's stay home. And Heidi brings a strong inspirational witness and testimony that we will eventually survive this. And Heidi, thank you. Do you have any? We're going to have to wrap up here. We've hit our 2-hour limit. Is there something you would like to share with the world? I hope that you come back and see us. But
yeah, well, I think we will not only survive this, we will thrive out of this. We will learn community spirit, and we will change our values. I think at the end, something positive will come out of this.
I agree. If anything, maybe unity, and we get back to our communities, right?
Yeah.
And Kit and Sasha and Willie, I thank you so much for coming on board. Any of you got any last minute things you'd like to send out to the world today?
I hope we'll get good news tomorrow.
Okay. And Sasha? I can't hear you. Hold on, let me unmute you. I don't know how. Sometimes things get muted. Go ahead.
Okay. Tomorrow will be a first ever toilet paper tournament. The first prize is a stack of toilet papers, and it's 25
toilet paper tournament. Hey, you know what? I saw them gambling for toilet paper yesterday. Willie, you were the one who brought this to us in the beginning and warned us. What would you like to share for tomorrow that we need to be aware of?
I'm going to look at artificial intelligence and coronavirus.
Okay. I love it. Artificial intelligence.
And coronavirus.
And just coronavirus. Let's build it. Let's put our blockchain to use.
Yes. Absolutely.
And we're going to start a startup community. I spoke with the community in Miami, and they want to connect with you two guys, and we're going to start a show, and then they want to build an event after Corona. But my many blessings to the board of advisors at IBM TV for joining us, and we will see you guys tomorrow with more advice and more wisdom. And